everybody, it's Penny1 and I'm back at you with another movie review, and today we're reviewing 1997's Titanic, everybody. That is right. James Cameron's Titanic. So, I'll start this review off by saying why I actually really enjoy this movie. Because a lot of, it's a cheesy love story. At least the first part of the movie is, but the second part of the movie is chaos and awesome destruction chaos and people freaking out and losing their brains. But so I love history. I've always enjoyed history. It was one of my favorite subjects in high school, grade school, whatever. So after this movie came out and I watched it back, I think I was in 5th grade in 1997. I'm pretty sure that's what grade I was in. I decided to go back and I did a project on the Titanic as a history project in grade school, and I actually read lots about like what really happened versus what happened in this movie, and I was very intrigued by it. And I will say the movie, besides like Leonardo DiCaprio plays Jack Dawson, Kate Winslet, they play these fictional characters on this movie. Like, they're not real. You never know. There could have been somebody on the ship that did what they did, but who freaking knows? But they're fictional characters. There are characters in the movie that were really on the ship, and I found after I dug down into what really happened back when the Titanic actually sank, this movie is actually fairly decently accurate with history and like what happened back then, which I think is really cool. As someone that's really into history and loves that kind of stuff, I found that to be awesome. So that is, I would probably say, the thing that I love the most about Titanic is the fact that it's very historically accurate. Not entirely. It's not entirely accurate. But yeah, so that's what really got me into this movie to begin with. So the movie basically is about Kate Winslet's character. Her name's Rose. She gets on this ship. She's basically being forced to marry this asshole played by Billy Zane. And he is a dick. He is like vile, a horrible human being. And she just does not like her life. She lives that first class life. She has a bunch of old rich ass people telling her how to live her life, what she should be doing, who she should be marrying, and they're going to America because this is the first voyage that the Titanic has taken. And then we have Leonardo DiCaprio's character, Jack Dawson. He wins a ticket because he's just a poor guy that's running around moving. He's an artist, great artist. He even gets to paint Rose butt-ass naked, which is a famous scene in the Titanic. But he gets on the ship because he wins a ticket, and they eventually meet and run into each other, because she's going to jump off the back of the ship and kill herself because she hates her life, and he convinces her not to. And then that starts a budding love relationship between the two because he's showing her like what she's been missing out and like the things in life, the simple things in life that she's missing because she's living that rich first class life. Because that's something this movie really shows off, is you have the third class steward people, and then you got the first class rich ass dicks. Like, back then there was a huge divide, like, and they show that off. Like, there's a point where Billy Zane's character, where the ship is sinking, going down, and they say that literally over half of the people on this ship are going to die, and he's like, not the better half. Oh my god, yeah, like, went there. Asshole, dick, straight up, just a vile human being, like, rich. And there are people that exist today like that. And back then, I would imagine it was probably even worse back then. But I was just like, holy shit, this guy's a dick. Billy Zane, I love Billy Zane, great actor. The movie's full of a bunch of great actors, like, great. And James Cameron, like, really, they put time, effort, and love into this project because they did not rebuild the Titanic entirely when they were filming. They only built pieces of it out in the water, and like they didn't actually like build a full-size Titanic, so a lot of it is CG with practical effects. And back in I imagine they filmed this in 1996. When they filmed this and then they mixed together the CG special effects with it, the movie for the most part, there are a few scenes, like the scene where Jack and his little Italian friend or whatever are on the front of the ship going, "I'm the king of the world! Woo!" Like when they pan back and the ship's going, that looks horrible. You could tell that was CG. That did not look very good. But there's a lot of the movie where the CG, you couldn't tell. You could not tell. A lot of panning shots of the ship going through the ocean, and it was a lot of it was CG, but it looks real. Like they did a good job with it. The production value was amazing on the movie. Like I said, the first half of the movie, it's a sappy love story. I mean, some of the lines that they say are even kind of cheesy, but I mean, overall, I like the second half of the movie when shit starts happening, when after Rose and Jack get it on in that car, the freaking iceberg smashes into the side of the ship, and man, chaos and utter just chaos, and people are losing their damn minds. Like, and that's what would happen. Like, I'm sorry, that is what would happen if this pandemic that we're all living in right now has shown anybody anything. When people are put in a situation where they're scared to death for their lives, they freak out. It happened back then too, and I pretty much guarantee the people on that ship in real life were probably losing their minds. And at first, it's really slow at first when the ship starts sinking, but then, man, once it starts going. And I thought that Cameron captured that part of this so well, the whole sinking of the ship and people losing their minds, going crazy. And I mean, throughout the movie, it follows Jack and Rose throughout the movie, trying to get off the ship and staying away from Billy Zane's character. I can't remember his name for some reason. But yeah, and God, the effects and everything, like when they show that ship like sinking in the water, like that was, you could tell it was like real set pieces and shit. Like, it's just awesome. And there's just the cinematography that they use with that. And like, there's this one scene where it was totally special effects, like when the ship is really starting to sink and they're showing like all the first class fancy areas like getting destroyed, the water's busting through the doors and just rushing through. They got that dynamic music playing in the background. Like, this, obviously you could tell the second half of the movie is my favorite part of the movie. Like, it gets crazy, like craziness, you guys. I mean, honestly, if you have never watched Titanic because it's a love story, I can understand you. I really can, because the first half of the movie is that cheesy, sappy, love, gushy story thing, but it's also history. Like, it's history. That's really why I love this movie, is because it's historical. And like I said, I got really interested as a kid. And the second half of the movie is really good. Like, the second half of the movie is great. I remember watching this on VHS. We owned the VHS tapes where there was 2 tapes where you had to put in the second tape because it stopped playing, because it's over 3 hours long, so it's a long movie. But yeah, the second half is my favorite part, everybody. So I'm honestly, this is one of the best movies that James Cameron has done. So I'm gonna give Titanic an 8 out of 10, purely on the part that I'm not so big on the first hour of the movie because of the love. I mean, I don't know. I don't mind a love story, but yeah, so an 8 out of 10, everybody, for Titanic. Thank you for watching. I appreciate it, and I'll be catching you on Tube laters, because I have spoken.